Okay, so now with a more direct approach, uh, this one is going to be recorded from our homes due to unforeseen circumstances. And what we're going to do is we are going to cover the exact same thing that we are doing right now. We are talking today about the etiquette, the idea, and the ways that have transformed the learning and the communication in the last couple of years. Obviously, we are talking about remote work and how to behave and how did we manage to use the remote tools such as Zoom, such as Skype, such as Teams, such as what did I forget?
Jitsi, Webex.
Jitsi, Webex, Adobe Connect,
Mm.
uh, and a bunch. So please roll the intro, and after that, we are back to our remote talk.
Okie dokie. Feel free to share some intro thoughts, as I'm sure you know this topic is very close to my heart, although you suggested it. But since the COVID era started, I think our work has diverged a little bit. We have a lot of stuff that we do the same thing with, and we had a lot of things that we used to do in a completely same manner while we were working remotely from home and doing the lectures. But also, I have this side thing that I do and have been doing for a lot of years. You don't do that as much, so I will be happy to share some experience from that aspect of our lives as well.
But I think, okay, first I want to say is that what the last couple of years did for us is that you have much more experience than me, but also your experience is in thousands of hours. Mine is probably close to that.
Mm.
So you have multiple thousands. I have probably around 1,000 hours because I wasn't shy about having lectures during the last 3 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that things we learned are more or less the same. Although I think that you are better suited to tell me how this thing worked before, because from what I see and from what I can understand is that a lot of things that we did and a lot of things that we managed to learn in the couple of years that we are doing this has changed a lot when we compare it to what happened before. So, for example, before the potato quality of the usual web camera was usually enough.
Mm-hmm.
We got used to barely hearing the speaker on the other side. We were used to talking to people while stuff was happening in the background, so people were expecting you to have some background noise and so on and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, when we started doing this, I would say during the COVID era, but during the entire lockdown and everything else, I think that people started to expect more. I think that also the lecturers, so us, we also wanted to give more. So we were much more prepared to invest into equipment. We were much more invested into trying to create an environment that makes sense when it comes to presenting stuff and to changing how the stuff is being presented.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a cheat. I have a little bit cheat of a cheat sheet here
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to touch on several things. But
Okay.
let's start with this. Let's start with the what do you think has changed in the last 2 or 3 years compared to what was actual before this?
Um, from the experience that I have in the past, let's say 3 or 4 years since lockdowns happened and then stopped, and the continuation of that, um, in my way of teaching online, two things have been a major change. I'm talking in general because I was already very aware of these things before, because that's what I do. I mean, you can see right behind me that there's some weird audio equipment, so I am an audio buff and have always been. But the first thing that has changed significantly is actually related to the investment into the equipment. That can be divided in multiple different ways: audio, video, camera, various types of playback systems, whatever. Online whiteboards, for example, have become much more popular than what it used to be. And we, both of us, do that as a normal thing nowadays, even in classroom. And what I've noticed heavily on my side jobs of teaching with VMware and others is that the major change has been actually in the, let's say, area of investment into audio quality first, and then a little bit into video equipment, let's say camera or something, but not as much. There is a fundamentally simple reason why that is, I think. And oftentimes when I do online classes, because you and I both have quite expensive setups nowadays and have been having it for years now, one of the first things that people usually comment when I do online classes is that the audio quality is unbelievable. But it's not about bragging rights. It's about having the confidence to do this with high quality equipment, good online platform that does it justice, because online platforms can severely mess up your sound. And then it's about being loud enough so that you don't have to constantly, do a little bit of a game with the volumes and whatnot, because people don't like that at all. So as long as you invested a lot of time into testing and whatnot, everything is going to be fine. Camera-wise, I'm still, for vast majority of my classes, I'm just using the Logitech USB camera. Everybody's happy with that, no problem whatsoever. But what we used to do a little bit more during the lockdown era, and we, I think, do it a little bit less nowadays. We also bought a lot of video switching equipment and a couple of other things like Blackmagic Atoms and whatnot. I used to do a lot of classes like that, but doing classes like that requires a hell of a lot more preparation if you want everything to be interactive. And it's much more difficult to transfer that into the stream. And it really depends on which platform you're using, because some of them are better for that, some of them just aren't. As I'm sure you know that these sorts of devices are treated as UVC devices, which means basically they're treated as a universal, like a camera input. And if you want to switch different screens, then if you have, like I do and you do, we have enormous amount of video outputs in our computers, because we want to have the capability to share multiple different screens. And in my workflow, that changed a lot of stuff in terms of how I do online lectures nowadays, because I have actually I have 5 screens here, just like in the office, and every single one of these screens has a predetermined role and is connected to the system in a specific way. And one of the screens is all about not being able to enter the stream in which I'm doing the lectures, while the others can be for PowerPoint presentation, for documentation, and for a variety of other, let's say, materials that I want to share with my students. And I want to be able to seamlessly shift between those, which is not actually easy, having current state of the equipment in mind, as again I'm saying that these sorts of devices are UVC devices, and that makes it much more difficult to do, because what we are used to do is sharing screens. Sharing screen versus working with a camera are complete polar opposites. So in summation, I would say audio equipment, a lot of people invested a hell of a lot of money into that, and we are no exception. We are actually much worse than an exception. We are extreme exception to that. A little bit less on the camera side, I think, in terms of online lectures, and then depending on who you talk to, quite a few people went into the let's say streaming direction. So that's why the ATEMs and other devices are so popular. Furthermore, I cannot stress enough how important it is that we've kind of expanded on the use case of online whiteboards. I use iPad for that, so do you. And for that reason, having the capability to do ATEM-based, let's say, setup, it comes in very handy because, again, I have a screen that's dedicated completely to that that I can share with my students, and that works really well.
I'm going to say a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
First, yes, what did it for me is the idea of being able to define another set of rules. So my first rule was I want people to be able to hear me.
Yeah.
This is always the stuff that is bothering you. If the even if the image is, I wouldn't say potato quality, but if the image is not so great, so if the image is standard video or below it, I think that people do not care. They do care about hearing you,
Mm-hmm.
and they do care about being able to read what you're trying to present.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're using a software, because we are going to have to talk about the software also,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're using a software that is able to understand that you are right now sharing, I don't know, a PowerPoint or presentation or a Word document, people are going to notice that the quality is lacking.
Mm-hmm.
What we decided and what was completely out of the normal decision making back way then was that we decided to go with the full HD line of video streaming, because we created our own dedicated video and audio chain.
Mm-hmm.
And then we finished this chain with the in both of our cases with atoms. So basically what we did is we created a video chain that contains only the HDMI devices,
Mm-hmm.
using the PCs as the HDMI devices, using our cameras as HDMI devices, and then adding normal audio, not USB audio from some device. And then we created ourselves something that wasn't the normal norm.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember back way then, when we started streaming for the lectures in the university, the problem that we had was that the software that we were using, I think it was Adobe Connect in the start, it didn't understand how to stream the camera in the same way it is streaming the PowerPoint. So basically what they did is they were trying to stream those things separately in a separate manner with separate settings for the streaming quality. And what happened is that if you had to share your screen was much sharper and much more usable than your camera.
Mm-hmm.
This completely failed to meet the standards that we are trying to set.
That was a humongous problem. I remember that.
Yes, because the problem was that the usual setup that people used was they had a shared screen, they had some sort of a camera. The camera was pretty much something that was an afterthought. So some people even used 640 by 480 resolution on the cameras. And the idea was that the screen itself was important. By the screen, I mean PowerPoint.
Do you? Sorry to stop you. Do you remember how much problems we had with students complaining about very grainy shared screen and how they were complaining about getting headaches because of that?
Yes, yes. This is also one of the things that happened because what the software developers did is that they tried to either differentiate between having a solution that is going to understand this is a PowerPoint and this is a running camera that is showing the lecturer. They didn't care about the lecture themselves, so they said, okay, the lecture can be seen in lesser resolution, but also they didn't care that much about the artifacts in the streaming of the PowerPoint. I know that in the start, Adobe Connect tried to do it the old-fashioned way. So basically, what they did, they uploaded the pages of the PowerPoint to the client, and they completely solved the problem of artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
But in the same in the same time, what they did is they completely destroyed the idea of using the animations. Okay, using animations on online lectures is something that shouldn't be done,
Mm-hmm.
anyways. But this was one of those things where uh, it took a while before people understood how to deal with different types of media and how to deal with different types of, I would say, streaming ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we did is was outside of the normal idea of the streaming. Normal idea was you had a laptop, you had your screen, you had a single screen,
Mm-hmm.
you had your camera, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
You had to make do with what you had. And I would say that the biggest thing that changed on our side is, if you remember back then, you were using 2 monitors, I started using 3.
Mm-hmm.
Then you started using 4 and then 5.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just made sense. It made sense to dedicate a single monitor to having an image directly from the Atom. It made sense to have a basically small production studio, because what we ended up with was something that would be considered a normal production studio maybe 10 years ago or 15 years
Yeah,
ago.
but I have a running standing joke. I think I told you that. My partner calls this our NASA control center.
Yes, but it's not that it's a control center, but it's if we were using this 20 years ago, this would be considered a professional video production studio.
Mm-hmm.
So we are using multi-camera setups. We have ways of titling things. We have ways of doing animations. We are able to chroma key. We are able
I
to.
used to do a lot of lower thirds as well as a part of the lectures. I had no reservations about that, like intro part of the lecture, lower thirds, a demo part, blah, all of that. And I still have
So
all
all
of
the
the settings. Yeah,
basically the graphics and the titles.
basically that's the
Something that,
TV type of stuff.
yes, but TV titles other stuff was not something that people did a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And now it became available, and then it more or less became the norm,
Mm-hmm.
because people understood that the OBS, which was abysmally bad
Mm-hmm.
back by then, suddenly became a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, OBS had its own reason why it was switching to different. So it was changing, and mainly the main reason was because people kept switching to it, because uh, it wasn't only the lectures that made sense. Also, a lot of people started streaming from homes, doing different things.
To
I'm not only
multiple
mentioning
platforms at the
the.
same time as well.
Yes, they were using Twitch to stream gaming. They were starting different streams doing, I don't know, sourdough bread baking.
Or twitching,
Uh, Sorry.
or Twitch streaming, gaming.
Yes, Twitch streaming gaming, but also the things that people started to do. So, for example, before all of this came to be, I would never watch a video of a guy navigating down the canal in the United Kingdom.
Mhm.
And now this was beginning to start to be a norm, because I was annoyed with uh, all the editing in all the other videos, because suddenly everybody started to use the new technology.
Mhm.
And I think that the quality of the image and quality of everything that was outputted, not only by the people who are doing the education,
Mhm.
increased incredibly.
Mhm. Well, it's not like we didn't need a kick in the butt in that respect. I think we did because the technology was already becoming available. I remember one more thing, which is still a thing actually from that era, which wasn't all that long ago. What, 3 years ago, 3.5, which, as I said, is still a thing and annoys the crap out of me every single time when I start thinking about it, let alone trying to use it. The thing is all of the professional sound cards, and I only have, Antelope Audio and Universal Apollo and or Universal Audio Apollo and whatnot. All of those cards have professional ASIO drivers. They, for the most part, don't work in either Teams, for example, or in Adobe Connect. I haven't used Connect since last year, so I don't know if any kind of progress has been made on that respect. But the last time when I used it for our mentored program that you did as well, for our Linux students, it didn't work. Hence the reason, and I know you asked me that more than a few times, why I have, it's one of the reasons why I have two sound cards for every computer that I use for any kind of online streaming. Because the Apollos do not work in Microsoft Teams at all, never have, never will, from what I can gather. Same thing with Connect. It works perfectly in Zoom, no problem there, and it works with WebEx too. But from the perspective of these applications, which we were starting to use more and more for because of corporate company policies, our company selected that we are going to be using Teams and Connect. Because of that, that started being very, very annoying very quickly. The second thing, and I'm hoping that this is not going to cause any kind of weird thing happening in my setup right now. I had an experience a year and a half ago when I was doing online training for Dell EMC. It was a one-day pre-sales course about Dell EMC VxRail platform in a completely different time zone. And it was a national holiday on that day, so all of you guys were, outside playing with the kids. It was nice weather, whatnot. And at roughly 6:30 p.m., I was still doing the lecture because it was in a different time zone later than ours. So I started at 11 o'clock in the morning and it was supposed to last till 7 p.m. Roughly around 6:15, 6:30, like very close to the end of the class, I was left without power. I do have UPS and it could sustain bits and bolts of that. But it also taught me the value of having, as we do, a big setup and some kind of a smaller setup on the side. And I always have a second computer on my desk, usually very quickly ready to go. Oftentimes when I do online classes from home, I'm actually connected from both computers at the same time in the same Zoom, WebEx, whatever session. Reason being that that was just once that happened to me in the past couple of years, but I got a hell of a lot of positive feedback reviews from my students because I was ready for that. Literally, I just switched to my laptop, already had all the slides there. My primary computer failed. The laptop was hooked up to UPS and it had a full battery that would last for another 4 hours. And I had a mobile phone connected to a USB power bank, and the mobile phone was full, connected to 4G, so completely separate network without any requirements for actual power. And I was able to continue in 20 seconds. And they were asking me, yeah, do you need a couple of minutes to continue? I was like, no, let's go. Like less than half a minute passed. They were very impressed with that, which is definitely an overkill, but it's not an overkill if that's what you do. And that's one of the things that I also noticed.
I would completely disagree with you on being an overkill.
Okay.
Because it's not an overkill. Because if we are going to change the paradigm of the entire idea of teaching, and if we are going to go all in basically, I wouldn't say wasting people's time, but changing the way that people use their time, we need to make different allowances for things that can and will happen. So, for example, if you are right now teaching in a normal university, normal setup, you expect that you are going to have a double screen setup, so two screens on your desktop. You expect that you are in the classroom going to be having a decent overhead projector. Not just a projector that is going to be there for a couple of seconds and then after this you are going to just scribble on the whiteboard or even on the blackboard. You are expecting to have something that is going to continuously show the image. The image needs to be high resolution. So I think that having a second device, especially when we're dealing with the times when the second device can be cheaper than, I would call it cheaper than what the web cameras were way back then. I would think that this has to be just part of the kit.
Agreed.
You just need to have a device. So when I was taking, if you remember that exactly, probably a couple of weeks after the lockdown happened, I had to take the train the trainers course in
Red
the
Hat.
Red Hat.
Yeah.
And what I did is that since I was expecting that something is going to break down, it was a course that took me 4 days, I think, 3 or 4. And what I did the first day, I connected through my normal computer, so the computer that I'm already using, and I used my small laptop. I have a small refurbished Yoga. I just used it to connect as a second device, and I called it in because I had to call it in. If you remember that when you are connected to Red Hat, you need
Blue jeans.
take the instructor to make him understand that this is you who is connecting, because they are reluctant to let people in. And when I did this, I just saw that his demeanor changed, because he said, "Okay, this is what you should be. All of you should be doing."
Yeah, this is what should be done.
And this is I wanted to finish this thing today with recommendations, but since you touched on it, I would say that a few things that we learned should be mentioned. First is that when you're teaching somebody, you should always be using one device as the student's point of view.
Correct.
So your device should be the device that is connected to the stream that you are displaying, or the stream that you are creating, so that you first see that you are being seen, that you can take over if your primary computer goes down, because computers go down.
It happens.
And nobody cares which computer you're running, it is going to go down, especially if you're doing hundreds and thousands of hours of lecturing, because computers just break. Power goes out, something can happen in any point in time. So you need to have a way of connecting to and seeing what the student is seeing, and this is one of those things. The other things is that you need to find your setup that makes sense to you. For example, I don't have any problems with regular web cameras. If you buy a decent web camera, so something like 9 series from Logitech, or any other camera of that caliber, this is going to be enough. But if you want to do this, I would suggest to spend, a lot more, but get a camera that is going to be able to first have much better optics, so much better image, the sharper image, the ability to manually focus the image so that you can actually make yourself be in focus. Also, invest in a camera that is going to give you the ability to work. So some cameras have only a battery. You also need to invest in the battery replacement so that you can connect the camera directly to the power line.
Yeah, fake batteries.
And then the other thing that made a whole world of change for me were these headphones. I'm wearing headphones right now, although they are completely unnoticeable to people, because I want to completely eliminate the ability of, or the eliminate of the idea of having a microphone and having a feedback loop with my microphone. So this is one of those things that makes sense to me. You prefer the larger headphones that make you hear much better what is being said. I prefer the headphones that are much more, I would say, inconspicuous. I like to be able to look like I'm not using any technology. So I like to have my frame completely free out of from the technology, and this is just one of those things.
Okay.
And another thing, let me just finish with
Go,
another
go.
thing. The thing that changed the things for me was thinking about the backgrounds. When we're normally doing the podcast, we are using the green screen and then you are overlaying whatever you are overlaying. So, for example, we're overlaying right now the gray background, and that's it. This thing behind me is an actual black screen. It's a black
Fabric.
fabric. It's a piece of textile that is something like 2.5 meters by 2 meters. And the idea of this is for me to be able to do two things. First, to have a sharp image that doesn't take your focus away from anything. And the other thing is that at the same time, this serves as a good noise cancellation device. So basically, it reduces the echo. So I was aware of this before, but if you asked me 3 years ago if I would be able, if I would create my own set that contains the fabric that is not cheap, also I had to invest into the fixture to make it work. I would say no, but now it's just a normal thing that I do.
Okay. I have a couple of additions as well while we're on the topic, because this is super interesting for probably for educators all around the world as well. We both went into our own directions in some things. For example, you prefer to have these headphones, as you mentioned. They're inconspicuous and less visible. For me, that's less of a focus. For me, it's all about getting the utmost sound quality. These are expensive headphones, very well known. Sennheiser's HD25, a lot of people use them. But for both of us, that was not enough, because I know that you have a similar story, and then our stories diverge a little bit. Because roughly around the same time, I did it a little bit before you, we also bought some of these, if you remember.
Yes,
You went with Sony.
I also have one of these, also at my disposal if I need to use them.
Yeah, exactly that.
So
And
this is not a pair of cheaper
yeah,
headphones.
and actually, I have a very practical reason why I'm not using this when running around or riding on the bicycle. I have a headphone stand here on both sides of my desk, one for wireless, one for these. And the reason why I have both is very prosaic. I have to tell you a story about this, because it kind of hit me in one situation that it's perfect for a scenario that I keep on having. You don't have it because you live in a house. I live in an apartment, so our environments are a little bit different. So here's the thing. Year and a half ago, roughly as well, when right around the time when this thing with power happened to me, I did an online class for VMware, and one of my neighbors was drilling holes in the wall for 4 days straight. Okay,
Yay.
and for me, it's not a problem. I mean, it's it's not really good for the concentration when you do it, especially when you have an expensive setup with a microphone like this, because this has been tuned with a specific intent, which is to eliminate background noise, not to hear it, so that the students can focus only on my voice when I'm doing the teaching, etc. But you know that those kind of drills, you cannot tune them out. It's impossible. But I was able to, let's say, modify the setup a little bit, or the settings of the plugins a little bit, so that they didn't hear it in the stream, which was plus number one. That's why you need to have a good audio interface. Plus number two, it was very loud coming into my apartment, so I couldn't tune it out from my surroundings because I had these headphones. So I was hearing it from all around me because they were drilling a wall, and the walls tend to make a lot of noise. Hence the reason why I asked them after I tuned this plugin settings a little bit. I asked my students, can they hear the drilling, and they say no, which was perfect. So the 70% of the problem solved. Now I need to solve my problem, which is I keep on hearing that noise. This is where these headphones came like a godsend, because when you turn on the noise cancellation on that, I was completely without any problems. So that was a very good, let's say, idea was that was spurred by a moment, by a situation in time, and I didn't really think about it back then. I just kind of, oh, my headphones are here. Let me connect that. Although they are Bluetooth, so there might be some latency issues in terms of how sound gets to my students versus how it gets back. But at the same time, that worked really well for me, and I keep on doing that when I have these issues. So that's thing number one. Thing number two, and we talked about this multiple times, you and I. I also, I mean, I'm a musician. What can I do? I have a lot of audio equipment, and years ago, I also invested a lot of money into various types of in-ear headsets. These are cool because I can walk around even with simple headphones like this and still be able to walk around without having to think about anything, which is cool when I, for example, take a short break. If I need to go to the kitchen, get water or coffee or something, I can still hear my students talking, even without having these Bose headphones. A reason being that sometimes I just don't need the noise cancellation. These are more comfortable for me because I've been using them for more than a decade. I'm very well used to them. So that's the equipment part. We also invested money into various types of playback devices like BMD, HyperDecks, and whatnot. So there are so many of these things that we started working with, which not only kind of like improved our workflow in terms of the lectures. I would actually hazard a guess and say that all of that those things, which I mostly bought times two for both of us, I think that that kind of led us down the path of getting to know more, even more and more about the streaming equipment and generally to how to work with other aspects of lectures that are not necessarily just talking. That's where, for example, you had way more experience than me in terms of the live pictures and streaming and whatnot. And as a result of that, that's, I think, a part of the reason why we feel comfortable doing the podcast as well. So it's not undeniable. But there's actually a larger point to be made here, and this is speaking again from personal experience. Do you know the last time when was the last time that I traveled to deliver a course? Can you remember when was that?
Mm, not really.
It was in January 2020.
Oh, okay.
So
So
in a couple,
basically a couple of months before the lockdown.
not no 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 no. It was at the end of January. Basically,
But the
lockdown
the lockdown
happened at the
happened in.
beginning of March.
Ah, okay.
So it was a couple of weeks before the lockdown. I got back. We finished the the exam period for our students. Started this next semester, first week, second week we were online. If you remember, that's the scenario. So
Yes. Okay.
right now, so we are very close to year 2024. Basically 4 years I haven't traveled anywhere for lectures. But I'm not saying that as something that should surprise somebody because it shouldn't. It's actually the opposite, which is that because of the way in which things happened and everybody went online and we started giving lectures online, other people started working remotely. So it's all a part of the same, albeit larger scenario. Actually, the way in which the business has been done online has been normalized. And that's good for us, for both you and me, actually. For example, when you have to do consultations for some of our more, let's say, en masse courses like computer architecture, whatnot, you can do that via Teams now. It's completely normal to do that way.
Yes, but I would go against this. I won't say that I'm against working from home or working remotely. I'm all for it when it comes to some sort of the lectures. But I think that what is missing is we need to change, and this hasn't changed. We need to change the way that people are expecting us to behave in the lectures. So I think that people are more or less expecting us to behave the same as they were used to
In classroom.
getting the lectures done remotely. So they're expecting us to just do the ex cathedra talk and then to leave them alone, so that they can drone out and more or less ignore us for an hour or so, and they say, okay, now we finished the lectures, now we are going to do something, or we are not going to do anything. Based on the results that the students got, I know that this wasn't the case, because the results weren't that bad. What was bad is that people didn't get enough communication face to face, and this created another set of problems. Okay, we solved those partially by creating our own safe space in the Discord, but this is a theme for another episode. Please don't go there. I'm just going to say that I think that we changed the way we do things. We changed the technology that we're using. The software has changed a lot, but I think that what stayed the same is the expectations from the students.
I would say that
And
they are
what
even
stayed the
higher.
same, no, but I think that they stayed the same because they are expecting that we are going to give them more, but that they are going to behave as if nothing has changed. So they're expecting that we are going to make a complicated multimedia experience available to them, and that they are going to be able to ignore it.
Yeah.
And this is some of those. This is one of those things that annoys me to no end. Because one of the things that I was trying to make and I was trying to create, right now I'm unable to do it because I didn't plan for it, but I'm specifically looking away behind me to see how much space do I have, because what I wanted to do is, and what I usually do, I create myself enough space between me, the camera, and the background that I'm using for me to be able to stand up. Because sometimes I just want to walk around. You call it Professor Baltazar, but I just want to walk around and talk to people, because I think that this is one of those things that people don't expect. And we need to create some sort of educational environment where people don't just wait for the thing to end. And let's now switch over to the things that we also learned, because in my cheat sheet it says the backgrounds. We changed those. The scenes. So we started to create the scenes, the subtitles, the things that are happening on the screen, and so on.
Super source.
Yes, the next thing that I think that we are going to be creating is going to be, at least I'm going to do it, to switch from the green screen to an actual background. And I'm probably going to try to find a way to create a virtual background so that I can connect not only my green screen, but also use my green screen is in a way that I can write down something on my iPad, because I have an iPad here. And I want to be able to create a background for me that is going to be created by this iPad. So I'm talking about something like a composite back screen and so on. Yes, I know. And the thing that you don't need to explain to me is that you have an iPad, I have a couple of iPads here.
Same.
So these are just the things that we are used to using, working with. And we are learning from people who are doing the Twitch streams.
Yes.
A lot of the things that I have seen are the things that also bother the gaming streamers. And the thing that I wanted also to mention is that I have changed also two things. Right now, I don't use it, but I have a stand-up desk.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that. That's a very good approach.
I want to be able to move my desk up and down so that I can actually create the regular lectures. And the other thing that has changed is the way that we designed our environment, or I would say the things that surround us, because we needed to take care of the light. And we were talking about the light just before we came online.
I'm going to demonstrate, and you just keep on talking.
Yes. Okay. I know, but you have a expensive setup that is based on Elgato, and I think that this setup is
It's not expensive. It really isn't.
okay. But I'm just the guy who always tries to first spend his money doing the unexpensive stuff, and then understands that he needs to spend money. But this is just me.
It is.
Um,
I'm
but
the
what I
I'm the
wanted to
polar
say,
opposite to that.
yes, okay, you don't try the experimenting. I think that I first tried with the sellotape, and then I decided that I need to invest in something
No, no,
more.
no. Your
But
your approach is actually to use that metaphor. First, I want duct tape, and then I want triad orbit stands.
yes, but what I do is both you and I, we have enormous amount. We did an enormous amount of testing and mocking about with different types of solutions.
Mhm.
Right now, I did a small count. I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different light sources just to make this scene happen.
Mhm.
Because I didn't want to have. I have a huge nose, so I didn't want to have my nose in the center of the screen. I wanted to minimize. I wanted to minimize the shadows for my nose, and this was the main reason because I am that shallow. Uh, so I just wanted to create a scene that has a soft lighting, so that I can actually present something and have my ugly mug talk to people while not distracting them with my nose. So this is one of the ideas.
Okay. One thing that I want to add, because this is the latest thing that I acquired for us, and I told you that last week. It goes completely in line with what you were saying about having the capability to do some kind of a virtual background, but not virtual background the way in which it's done in, I don't know, Zoom or WebEx or Jitsi or Teams, because that's not good enough. That's nowhere near good enough for what we need at times. And especially now when we are, because of the fact that you're a little bit under the weather, so we had to do a little bit of remote recording as well. We have to consider the fact that sometimes it's much more convenient to do these things from home. I have a Elgato green screen waiting to be put on my ceiling for probably a year and a half now. I'm very very sorry to say that out loud, but it is what it is because I'm both very busy and sometimes very lazy. But actually, our next endeavor in terms of getting even better picture quality from the green screen is I acquired the Blackmagic Ultimate device, which is
Okay.
basically the best thing that money that a normal amount of money can buy for that. You can do virtual scenes, you can do whatever you want with that. It should also help me streamline the setup for when I'm doing the video editing and when I'm doing video montage and whatever. But primary reason why I buy these devices, and I do that after a lot of research. I don't, as I said, I go in the opposite direction. I don't have a problem with spending a lot of money on very good devices. I like to buy stuff that's tried and tested and that I can see in action either personally or from people whom I can trust, be it online or offline, doesn't really matter. And this is the logical one of the logical next steps. We have to have the capability to do virtual backgrounds, and we have some plans for that for future podcasts as well. That we previously discussed, and we're going to keep on discussing them. I want to have a virtual whiteboard in the back, and I want to have the capability to do easy explanations with that because sometimes we get really deep into our technical explanations, and at times it would be a benefit for our viewers and listeners, mostly viewers, of course, to actually see some kind of explanation appear in the background of us when we do our regular setup.
Okay, but I also want to mention that the idea is to, as quickly as possible, switch to completely virtual studio.
Yes,
Since we have the ultimate, I'm going to throw in my Vive controllers and my Vive trackers so that we can completely go off the rails and create something that nobody cares about, but
we do.
people like to see. Yes, but it makes a hell of a lot of sense more to create consistent logos and consistent things for the setup that we have right now. Okay. Anyways, And I also wanted to mention a couple other things. Uh, one of the things that I learned is that you sometimes need to take care of creating your scenes so that people don't understand what is happening around you. I'm going to call it movie magic because it's screen magic basically. But for example, right now, the reason why I'm moving around and looking what is happening is that at this particular moment, I have this guy here,
That IT
and
show,
my cat
that
is
IT show
my
podcast
cat is.
cat that hasn't been seen in months.
Yes, and she's currently completely confused by what is happening. But at the same time, I was able to create a setup that enables me to have cats and also don't have problems,
Good for you.
which is complicated.
Yeah. Yeah, you are the definition of a Facebook. It's complicated status in that regard.
Yes, but the thing that I was able to do is to pull it off without cats going into the frame, because my frame is set up in such a way that I have a lot of free space outside of the frame, so that I can just actually have stuff happening around me. Things are falling off, cats are nosing around, and so on, and yet nobody can see it.
Yeah, that's good. What's the next step?
Okay, so the next step is going to be you and me wrapping this thing up and saying a lot has changed. I'm going to give my 3 different things that I think that everybody needs to do. And I think that with up and coming things that are going to happen in the next couple of years, everybody needs to invest in a good chair. Everybody needs to invest in a good monitor. And I think that at least 2 monitors are just a minimum. And everybody needs to invest in a good audio quality mic that is going to get all the information and all the nuances of the voice over.
Okay. I went with your idea of the standing desk in our regular studio, as I'm sure you
Yes.
noticed. So I've taken the cue not only from you, but I noticed people doing that. Although your IKEA desk that you have at home has been one of the sources of that thought process. So appreciate that. So your idea of having some kind of a virtual setup with a virtual background that is going to, oh, somebody turned on the super source, the cat turned on the super
Yes, and
source.
so that somebody is black with white
Yeah.
spots.
The second thing, I like the idea of having the capability to stand up and walk around very much. For that, you should either have a PTZ camera or a second camera that's mounted somewhere on the side so that it can follow you while you're walking around. And then it becomes the question of actually something that you just unintentionally did, or that your cat just did unintentionally, which is your camera. If you have a PTZ camera, it can actually track you while you're walking around the room or next to a whiteboard or a blackboard or whatever, while you have your iPad in your hand, and transmit that into the stream with SuperSource, basically with having iPad as the whole screen and your picture, let's say in the right hand top right corner or something like that. That actually sounds like a lot of fun to me. It's complicated to do, but it's definitely doable. And actually, one of the things that I'm preparing for you, Mr. Livestream Director, for one of our conferences next week,
Yes.
we have a big meeting on Sunday with our cameraman to do a little bit of testing and setup and preparation and whatnot. We are going to do some super sourcing as well, and that's going to completely change the way in which that specific conference's live stream is going to look like. I think for the better. And I've put in a lot of effort. Actually, in generally speaking, when we're talking about the topic that we are, not only about that conference, I've put in a lot of effort, just like you did, into a lot of different clips and intro and outro and between the lectures and whatnot. I have a whole library of those things. And this week I made even more of them because we have 10 or 11, I think 9 or 10 different places where we could place some of those clips. and especially having the conference that is that has sponsors and whatnot, it's very important to pay credit to those people who sponsored the event, etc., etc. So it's the same as having your own, video introduction when you do the class or lower third or whatever. So
Okay, but
I think that that's one of the things that. So standing desk, cool. Couple of cameras, very cool. I have a couple of these microphones that we can carry around as well, so we can do that. Although they are not as good as, for example, these guys are or SM7s, nor they should be or will be ever. But it is what it is.
I'm just going to say that the main thing that we need to take into consideration when we're talking about all of this is that the price of the equipment is falling so fast that you can right now get the setup for, I would say, third of the price that we got it a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the price that we had to pay for the items was something like, I think it was 3 times as much as the regular standard definition items are right now. Everybody went to 4K, but the regular full HD items are also available. So I think that the base level amount of money that you need to pay to get extremely high quality of stream is something that is affordable to everybody who wants to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be completely honest, an Atom with a normal HD camera is comparable to a regular USB port replicator for a laptop. I wouldn't call it the cheapest one,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're buying a real normal regular port replicator for a normal regular laptop, you are going to be investing something like 200 or plus dollars,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get an Atom for that money.
Yeah, used one though. I think they're still rough,
You don't know, but
but
okay.
still doable.
What I require from Atom is to have an image available. I don't care if it has been used or not. Same goes with the cameras.
Yeah, I
You can buy
understand.
okay, it wouldn't be a Sony, but you can buy a HDMI camera that is able to output a normal full HD and has a lens that makes sense. So for example, use Canon.
Mm-hmm.
You use one of those. I'm using one of those sometimes.
Yeah,
It can
the
be a
Canon
couple
that
of
I'm using
hundred dollars.
is really old. Still, picture is very good.
The Canons have all the old Canons have only problem that they have is that they are switching on and off every 20
As
minutes or so.
as it did twice during our recording session
Yes,
today.
but usually this doesn't matter
Yeah.
because since you are usually lecturing, you can just go on to do it during the part of the presentations, and you are going to get used to it and just understand when this is going to happen, and this won't be a problem.
Okay. I have before we wrap this up, I have a question for you because we are
Yes.
already ready for that type of situation. But I just want to, let's say, feel your pulse. How do you feel about something? Do you think that 4K is a logical next step for us? And is there value in that?
No.
Okay. Why?
No. I think I must say uh, absolutely no, because I don't see any reason. As you said, we are running currently. We are running in full HD in 30 frames per second, and I'm pushing something like 34 megabits
Yeah.
towards you.
Yeah.
The quality of the image is more than enough.
Yes.
If I wanted to push 4K, it would probably take the data rate would double probably. If I wanted this amount of quality, I wouldn't get anything out of it. The only reason why I would need to push something like this would be if I wanted to change something and I wanted to create some sort of special effects thing for something. So I don't see any reason to upgrade when we are talking about the lecturer
Mm-hmm.
of upgrading to 4K.
Okay.
It can make sense if we are doing something outside, if we are filming something, you have a lot of details in the image and you want to preserve those details. But when we are talking about teaching, when we are talking about uh, getting stuff available along the streamers, I don't think that using 4K as an idea makes any sense. I would much better prefer to have a regular camera that has much better lenses and is full HD than have a 4K camera that is going to have inferior lenses
Hmm.
simply because the camera itself is going to cost too much.
Okay, just a question. Feel free to wrap this up if you don't have any additional questions.
I have just one question when we are talking about 4K.
Hmm.
Do you think that it makes sense to invest in 4K because we are not only talking about cameras, we are also talking about. I need to get this guy out. Um, we need to also talk about the entire chain.
Yeah.
The cameras are more expensive, but not that expensive.
No, all cameras are
The
4K now, so that's not a problem.
Yes, the video mixers, so. They are not that expensive. They're getting there.
No, the problem
But
the
do you
problem
think
with
that
the video mixers is actually there aren't any that are at least no atoms at least that are 4K and ISO. 4K model
yes, I
exists,
know.
but there is no
And
ISO.
this was the reason why I started the
Hmm.
question. What do you think about the rest of the chain? Because you need enormous amount of disk space,
Hmm.
you need enormous amount of power to be able to edit this video,
Hmm.
and the end result is not that better.
Yeah, I have a couple of ideas. So as I'm sure you remember, I bought that quad decklink or what it was last year. I actually ordered it by mistake. I thought I removed it from my shopping list when I was buying some equipment, but we are ready for 4K. It has 4 inputs. That's more than enough for the stuff that we do for our streams. The backend problem of that is going to be disk space and disk speed in a way, definitely. Reason being that this just, I mean, in terms of the bandwidth and whatnot, you have to be full NVMe. And then the last problem in there is the video editing procedure. I have a feeling that somebody is going to give me a Threadripper Pro and that's going to go away.
Yes,
I
this is
mean,
one
that's
of
the
those
only
things.
way, literally.
But on the other hand, I think this is the same thing as it is with the Intel 4900.
Hmm.
It's just a thing that people are talking about, but doesn't make any sense.
Well,
So
I will
I
definitely have benefits out of having, let's say, a much faster graphic card because the app that I'm switching to can use graphic card for all the whole process. So yeah, but I get where you're going. I have 3900K here in my computer, which is much faster than what I had before that. But still, exporting a video of the stuff that we do for podcast with all of the stuff that I sometimes add. So the intro, outro, a little bit of music, audio leveling, whatnot. It's not a complicated process in terms of the amount of time that it takes me to do the editing part. But the export part takes like half an hour for every episode, and I would like that to shrink. And if if,
and
if
if
you
we
go
switch
for
over to
4K,
4K, we are not going to get anything back,
nope.
but we are going to probably double it at that time.
Yeah, but still, we are growing, we are going forward, so you never know. Maybe a year from now, maybe we'll have somebody who is a permanent video editor who's going to do that for us either way, so we are not going to care.
Okay, on that idea, let's finish this thing up
Okay.
before my cat is able to switch me completely off.
Hmm.
And I think that the reason why she decided that this is the good thing to do is because I think that the small tappy feet decided that the atom is warm,
Hmm.
so the cat needs to be taken off the atom.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm going to bid you farewell and good night,
Hmm.
and I'm going to say that this has been an episode on us rambling about different types of streaming and different types of uh, uh, um, advices on how to stream, what to do, how to use it, and so on. See you next week.
Yeah.
I do hope that we are going to be again live from the studio.
Yeah.
But I have a sneaky feeling that we are going to do another episode
Yeah.
online.
You need to get better, and then everything is going to be easier.
And it's not only this, but it's going to save us a lot of time before we can do it, because there is a national holiday next week.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a lot of time dedicated to family affairs and so on.
Yeah.
So until next time, see you. Thank you. Bye bye. And I was Yasmin.
I'm still veteran, and he is still Yasmin, but bye.
Yes, but it depends. It depends. I thought about changing
To
my name.
Yasmina, perhaps.
No, because I kept getting called Jasmine,
Hmm.
and it starts to annoy me. Or when it comes to Germans, I'm getting called Frau Jasmin, and I don't know which is more annoying, having your name changed or having your sex changed. So I need to I need to work on this, and I'll get back to you.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes,
See ya.
see you.
Bye.
Bye.